Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency, alongside Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers. We are live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club. Another live show here at Hail Varsity Club as well. Thanks for those who have come out so far, and there's plenty of time to still make your way to Hail Varsity Club. Grab a bite to eat. Catch the show this morning live. We're having some fun. DB, did you think Wichita State was...
That's such a relative term.
Do you think Wichita State was going to win that game?
See,
because I thought they were about to win that game.
Time out. We're burying the lead. Have you ever felt like you had a full-time babysitter, but you weren't really paying for it? I feel like I have a full-time babysitter.
Where's your head at today?
It's like, I wonder where I would be if, like, my OCD wasn't curbed by having people tell me what to do. You know,
you are a man of habit, a man of routine,
and I purposely did that, and she caught me before the show even started. I didn't even want that on me. And what does she do? She comes over and she makes sure that it's perfect.
Well, it's because I called you out yesterday.
Yeah. Hey, are you going to come online? What'd you ask me if I was going to log in?
I said, are you going to come on StreamYard, or are you just going to sit there?
Yeah, I think the thing that makes me interesting is I never do what I'm told.
I don't think that makes you interesting.
Do you have a different word for it? Who would keep
I think that makes you annoying.
Yes. No, I did not think that the Shockers were going to shock anyone. I think a lot of times when you watch Houston, that's just who they are. Like, you watch them and you're like, wow, this is a top 15 team metrics wise. But then you're reminded that they've got guys like Sautter, who, because you always need a bucket getter, you got to be able to defend, you have to rebound, and Kelvin Sampson is an elite level coach. So they have a lot of ingredients, kind of like I can't kill them on air, but I won't. I had a very bad dining experience yesterday.
What'd you eat?
I'm not telling. I can't do it in good faith.
Give me the general region.
Region?
Okay, area.
West of 84th, east of 132nd, north of...
Hey, what's the latitude and longitude?
North of Giles, south of Fort.
Google Maps?
Yeah, about 236,000 different restaurants in between that area. Look at Head Mulati over there laughing at me.
Head Mulati.
Head Mulati got less body. That's my man. That's P Major. What's up, man? Good morning.
Good morning. Florida Atlantic lost.
I know. You jinxed them.
No, I didn't.
Listen, I laughed half that whole game. I was like,
UAB was the favorite.
I was like, that's the Andrew Rogers effect. He said it's FAU, the team. I looked at the line and I was like, yep, that's a sucker bet. And sure enough, it was. Well, good morning, Avery. How are you? We just say good morning. It's a live show, man. We can do this.
I didn't say you couldn't.
Well,
you came at me.
You shot me. You shot me.
No, I didn't.
Did everybody not see the Andrew Rogers death stare?
Hey, do you want to go to the replay? Like, I can take it to New York.
Hey, did I tell you about watching a high school game a couple weeks ago, and a coach, I won't name him, like, pretended to throw a challenge flag on a bad call? He picked up a towel on a blocked charge call, and it didn't have a ton of weight to it, so it kind of floated to the ground, like,
right.
if
like
you've
a
ever
paper
seen
airplane.
If you ever seen the plastic bag in American Beauty, it just kind of hung out of the air, and nobody said a word. I'm like, that's a technical, but that's a good coach, so they'll leave him alone.
He's the Pat Beverly of coaches.
Yeah, so, like, I don't know, man. I just try to figure out, like, how to make sure that we're completely dialed in. But when you started talking about FAU, I thought to myself, that's a bad line. UAB was favored, a slight fave, a little bit of goodness on the money line. It's exactly how I felt when my man Vegas B. Edwards liked the Bucks, and I listen. He's a tremendous capper, but 4 didn't seem right.
I don't like it.
I said, doesn't that line seem a little light to you? He's like, yeah, that's what I'm pouncing. And sure enough, the clip joint, which I like to call him, because as a Laker fan, you don't remotely like the Los Angeles Clippers. They're tenants in common. Get your own building, by the way. Just a 1-point victory. So FAU, short story long, is a recipe for disaster.
Don't tell me that this is a jinx on my part. It would be a jinx if FAU was the favorite. If they were like a
how are they favorite. A dog though?
UAB is not a bad team.
Better record, better strength of schedule. They just had a feeling. I got a feeling.
Whenever Vegas does something like that, you know the ranked team is losing.
Yeah.
You just know.
Yeah, I'm a big. I follow that trend quite a bit. Ranked versus unranked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, a good one too this weekend. Is it tomorrow? Gonzaga, St. Mary's. That'll be fun to watch too.
St. Mary's looked like they were maybe looking ahead to Gonzaga last night. I mean, they kind of schlepped their way through, but San Francisco's, quality program. I'm not mad. How did you by any chance tune into the Big Ten Network to watch Michigan State and Nebraska women's?
Not the full game,
man.
But that fourth quarter seemed like an eternity.
It was just frustrating.
Frustrating or frustrating?
Frustrating. Did my gum get in the way? This is going to be
your Zoe impression.
This is going to be a great Friday because the minute you remotely act like you want to go in, I'll bury you.
You started it.
Well, let's go. Giddy up, partner. No, so what was going on in that basketball game? I don't know. I got a lot of thoughts. I guess we'll have to compartmentalize this so we can have a show and stay on schedule because we haven't even set the lineup and we're 10 minutes in. Are we 10 minutes in?
7 minutes
I wouldn't know because you didn't plug the clock in.
Here we go again, just pointing fingers.
Whose name comes first?
Coffee. I guess it is me.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Contrary to popular belief. Yeah.
Shane normally sets this up. Shane, where are you?
Dude, this dude's walking around like a god-darn penguin, frozen, waddling around this morning in his hockey gear and his 1924 stocking cap. And I'm like, bro, it's like 81 degrees in here. What are you doing?
I feel like a penguin.
Exactly. It's cold over by the window. Try sitting under this 90 mile an hour, 85 degree gale that's above our head.
I thought heat rises.
Yeah, last night, or I shouldn't say last night. Yesterday afternoon.
When you're built 3 feet from the ground, everything rises. Sorry about that.
Yesterday, he's like having his hands to the sky.
And the ceiling's like 16 feet. Like, how could you? You're nowhere near that.
He's like, it's warm over here. No, it's not.
How would you know?
No, it's not.
Sorry, Shane. Good morning. Good morning. Dude, he's on. Okay. So full disclosure.
Let's hear it.
I've only worked with Shane about 8 months.
Yep.
Just letting you know those first couple of drops when he's like quick like that, leave him alone because he's on his game.
Well, you talk about poking the bear.
No,
Shane's one of the.
But I've been around him long enough, so his responses to me early on, where he's quick like that, I'm gonna let him ride because he'll probably end up getting me because he controls all the buttons, and so I'm not playing that game with him today. All right, Shane, you win. We cool?
It's not over. Yeah, it's not over. That just proves that it's not over.
He won't let it ride.
No.
We'll get into this in a few moments, but yesterday DB shot me a text and said, "Hey, let's go about naming our top 6 recruits commits that made their way onto Nebraska's roster."
Can we tease that because I need to figure out my last 2.
Oh yeah, we can tease it for sure. Thanks. We got the sports 6-pack coming your way too. That's coming in the next segment. We have to make that in the next segment. So how much of a tease do you need? Like you need 5 minutes? Do you need 30 seconds?
I need one of those Nebraska brews. That's what we need.
Oh yeah, the Acres Ale.
That too. Did you finish that?
Not all of it. I mean, he gave me a.
Who were you, Shane? It was all 12 ounces. It was all a 12. Oh, I meant the 12 ounces, not the 12 pack.
Okay. Yeah, I finished the drink. But I didn't finish the case.
You know what my favorite thing about that was? You poured You poured a beer in a clear plastic cup.
So you could see the color of it. It makes a lot of sense. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me. Anybody here? Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I'm all about not using the dishwasher.
And now, even though Kendall has crossover game, I'm gonna say this anyway. I think that's an ethnic thing. Because,
excuse you,
Kendall, you with me?
Hey,
we wouldn't do that.
Curiosity. What do you play beer pong with? Glasses? Because I don't.
Do I strike?
You play it with cups.
Listen,
plastic cups.
It's almost like
clear,
he doesn't know who his partner is. Do I look like the type of cat that would be playing beer pong? I don't even know how to play that game.
You don't know how to play most games.
Must be Friday. Wow. That's what we're on this morning, huh?
Calling me out on my cup game now? Like, what are we doing?
I don't know how to play those reindeer games, man. I told you about the Purdue story, and you had to walk me through what they were doing.
Game over.
Remember when they were bouncing the ball super far off the table?
No, they were playing the dice game.
I don't know. Listen, do you know what I do with dice?
You just weren't in a fraternity.
I don't worry about whether it's going in a cup or not. I worry about 7-Eleven. That's different, okay? I'm going to stop.
Beer pong.
I'm going to stop. I'm totally going to stop.
Plastic cups.
That's
paper.
But
yeah.
You know,
closer to plastic than glass.
This, my man, is glass. Club soda.
Club soda. You're ridiculous. Who are we talking to today? We're talking to Bruce Chubick Jr., head boys basketball coach at Omaha Central. We'll talk to Ahman Green at the top of the hour. Mike Sautter comes our way to close the show. And in the middle, we're talking to Michael Brunt, senior writer for Husker 24/7. DB, let's get into it, though. Let's give our top 6 recruits because we have to. We don't have enough time unless you want to save the back end here. I'll give you this. We'll save the back end for Ahman's segment. We won't talk to Ahman the full time. We'll save the back end.
I'm gonna pull out my handy dandy list because I got notes.
Do you want to work backwards to front? Like, do you want to work 6 to 1, or would you rather work 1 to 6? Because I feel like where you're having trouble is in the 4, 5, 6 range.
Well, yeah, because I didn't really set the criteria. So a sleeper, right? Because I wanted you to, and everybody does their Super 6, right? And we usually submit those, and Shafe collects the data, but Shafe's been preoccupied, full disclosure, obviously, with more important things to worry about. So I wanted to make sure that we had our own Super 6, but I am on the struggle bus more than normal with 4, 5, and 6.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing you're on the struggle bus.
But it's because I prefer to be I don't want to be like everybody else, but I may be overthinking this. I know Fields is safely in my top 3. I almost called him a sleeper because he was super under recruited. But I think people that watch the film know, like, he's a runner hitter. Like, something about him. I can't wait. Like, I can't wait to spend time with him. Spend time. No, I probably won't spend that much time with him, but I can't wait to watch his movements just to see if film lies, because it doesn't look like it does. He looks like a runner hitter. And I'm struggling with what to do with Malachi Coleman. Struggling.
To keep him in or to leave him out?
I look at ceiling, which is way high. And then I think, well, how good does he have to be to meet expectations? Because I feel like we did this with a guy by the name. Well, good morning. I even see you over there. She just kind of saunters in quietly. Shane's like, ooh. So as I feel like we did this with Marlon Lucky in 04, 05 or whatever, right? 5-star, kind of highly touted, got a lot of national run down the stretch. And he had like a pretty good career, and people kind of hate because he didn't. It's like the Reggie Bush factor. Reggie Bush wasn't a good pro. Really? Is it because he was the number 1 pick? Because he's a pretty good pro. 98% of people that play in the NFL would take Reggie Bush's career, but we pit it relative to what we expected. So I maybe overthought that a little.
Mm-hmm.
How's that for a T?
Yeah. So, do you want to hear my 1, 2, 3?
I will take your 1, 2, 3.
My 1, 2, 3. Coming in at 1 for me is Gunner.
Really?
And the reason is it Gatula, right?
Yeah.
The reason Gatula comes in at 1 for me is
That might
because-
be the most unbelievable number one pick I have ever heard, and no one in this state will agree with you.
So offensive line was obviously the biggest need for this group coming in from last season. A priority for this team. Regardless of what Raiola says, you need to build competition in that room.
Mhm.
So having a guy like him, a younger athlete that could spark that competition, now you're starting to make guys fight for spots. He's the reason he's my number one.
You should have excuse me. You should have made him your sleeper.
No, my sleeper's also an offensive lineman, probably going to play defensive line. But the reason I have him at number one is I really love his footwork on the outside.
Yeah.
And I watched his tape against Maverick Noonan, and I mean, it was more times than not he was winning that battle.
Okay. My number one was Riley Van Poppel.
It's a good one.
I think when I look at what we need, what he is, what he could be, I went with, are we calling him like RVP? I feel people are calling him RVP. Is RVP a little too cool for a guy that hasn't done anything yet? Because I don't want to be that guy either. Oh man, DB was on the hype train. Choo choo, gave him a nickname. But I'm
You give
sure
everybody a nickname.
Yeah, but I don't think RVP is like creative. It's his initials.
Oh, really? Riley Van Poppel. Oh, RVP. Okay.
Listen, you guys see what's going on, right? I'm usually the guy that gets blamed, but okay.
So
Okay.
RVP comes in at
And
one.
I'm going with Fields at 2.
See,
I really like Eric Fields.
I like this because neither of those guys made my top 6.
Yeah, well, one of us likes football and the other just watches it. I didn't say who was who.
We can assume.
Shots fired.
Malachi comes in at 2 for me.
I like that.
Malachi, for so many reasons, lands at 2. I mean, his character is his number one feature.
Yeah.
It bleeds into his game. When he doesn't have a big game, he owns it.
Mhm.
Like I've seen him do that numerous times, and he believes he has to be the best and have the biggest game every time he steps on the football field. I love that mindset there. He's gone through so much as a person off the field too. Not to say that other people haven't, but he has matured so quickly as a human being, and then he's carried over everything that he's learned in life to football. Tall, long, physical, ball-winning ability on offense. He's got breakaway speed for his size. The physical tools are there. What he needs is he needs some meat on his bones.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Corey Campbell is going to do a lot of good for this program in regards to getting guys to the right size. And there's some other guys that I have listed here that need that extra muscle, that extra amount of weight to make them comparable to other guys in college football.
Yeah, it's funny. Real quick, and we'll split just so on the back end we can keep talking. Corey Campbell is a guy that comes. So I ask a lot of questions, and hey, how do you feel? What do you think? Corey Campbell is a guy, and Coach Rule spent quite a bit of time talking about him yesterday about guys that you spend time with. He went into the story how he doesn't know much about strength and conditioning, and he always wants to be on the cutting edge and what your body types are and how you're supposed to be and what he wants you to look like, and how he noticed already some guys changing physically. Campbell's a guy so far that I didn't think a couple of players were going to make it another 2 weeks. They're just now starting to get acclimated to his rigor, because remember, Coach Rule tells you everything you need to hear if you just listen. And what he said was he can hold you accountable and be demanding, but still be an advocate. And when I hear that, I'm like, Yeah, those guys in the weight room that run the weight room, that set the tone,
Mm-hmm.
those are the guys that got to be the tail kickers because they have the strength and conditioning staff has you more than anyone else. And they're the smartest guys in the room 99% of the time. So when you're the smartest guy in the room, you have to be careful that you're really, really good because who's going to check you? Who's going to check the strength and conditioning guy? You want to tell me about periodic rest and muscle mass and recovery and saliva tests and like that's way above my pay grade. So when Coach Rule says, "Hey, I don't know anything about strength and conditioning. That's why I need to surround myself with experts."
Right.
Those guys, there's a lot of trust in those guys and gals that are in the strength and conditioning and nutrition. So he's very, very integral to what they want to do. But coming in at number 3 for me is We're Coming to America. I'm going with Prince. I love his tape. I think he's in a position of need where you have to be able to get after the passer. He's got a good body type, and I think he's just getting started.
His size is perfect for an edge rusher, for one. Another guy that I think needs to add a little more muscle to his game because he is so quick. He can get off the line of scrimmage really well and beat his linemen. But him and Cameron Lenhart are interchangeable for me at 3 and 4.
You like Cam?
Yeah, I like both of them. And I have them at 3 and 4 for a reason because I don't know if Prince would supersede Lenhart, in my opinion, if he had a little more size to him.
Mm-hmm.
But until then, I gave Cam the 3. Cam, he's a good combo for the 3-3-5-2 because he can play on the line, in the middle of the line, or he can come off the edge. And a lot of his high school tape showed that. So I think he offers some good flexibility for Tony White's defense in regards to that.
A jack of all trade.
Yep.
How much do you feel like you would be able to project if you knew exactly what that front was going to look like? Do you feel better? Because I'm not. I mean, is it going to be a 3-3-5? I mean, I would.
It's
guess,
tough to say. I think they'll start there.
I would guess so because I think the strength of your football team right now is on the back end.
I think they'll start there,
so
and then we'll see how they alter it as the game goes on.
If there's going to be 5, I would imagine you put those guys in the secondary, which is why I can't wait to talk to a guy like Kobe Bretz, who's coming to see me tomorrow. So I get a chance to spend some time and see what's going on in the secondary. One of my favorites.
Hey, our poll question of the day. I think we all know Malice in the Palace is one of the best brawls in all of sports. It probably would have gotten the most votes. But what brawl comes in second on the list? I don't know if you saw the one on the court in the NBA last night. Is it Garrett versus Rudolph? Is it KU K-State college basketball? Yankees Boston ALCS game 3? Or is it Boston New York Rangers fight in the stands? We'll talk about that more as the show goes on. We'll take a break. We'll come back with the Sports Six Pack.
Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Good morning, Friday morning here on Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. He's Damon Benning. I'm Andrew Rogers, and we are live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club. 590 ESPN Omaha, 1480 ESPN Lincoln. We're live on Twitter. We're live on YouTube. We were just live on TikTok, but we took a short break. We will get back to our rankings, and DB and I talked a little bit during the break about the difference in ours, and let's just say we analyzed the game differently. I would maybe trust DB more than I would trust me.
No, but
you know what? When I'm right,
I'm
going to be on a throne.
Yeah, Michigan Lance one time called in and he said, DB, when you're right, you're right. When you're wrong, you are dead wrong.
Yeah, it's probably going to be me in certain instances.
That's about how it is.
We'll touch up on our final 4, 5, and 6 in those rankings and then toss our sleeper out there as well after we talk to Ahman Green at the 8 o'clock hour. Should we do the 6-pack?
Time now for the Sports Six-Pack on Coffee and Cream with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning. Presented by Zipline Brewing Company.
You've got that right. Zipline tossed us some beers too the other day. Gave us 4 packs, and the dear old Nebraska brew, the red one. I'm trying to get, because you may not know names, DB. The one that was red.
I love it. I
pretty
love
tasty.
Passive aggressive low key having my
Pretty
hand held. I love
tasty
it.
drink. Sports Six Pack presented by Zipline Brewing Company. Shaner's got your questions over there. Shane, kick us off.
Question number 1.
How is the current Husker staff approaching strength and conditioning, and what are some of the different philosophies that go into it?
This was a question from Twitter last night, and you kind of touched on it a little bit in the first segment.
Twitter. So from what I can gather so far, it's a lot about explosive. So a lot of times there's different philosophies. I'm trying to answer this quickly, but there's a lot to it. Sometimes it's about putting on mass and then tearing down and then working on explosion. And as you ramp up closer to the season, like there's usually kind of these blueprints and set patterns. I think for Nebraska right now, it is trying to accomplish a couple of things at once, getting the body types right in terms of lean muscle mass while remaining explosive. They're learning some new lifts. They're learning a few new techniques. And so I think the teaching mechanism is still in play, but right now it's about adjusting the body types before they narrow it down to get specific.
And as Corey Campbell, as a person, one word to describe him is demanding. And I've heard that from Coach Rule. I've heard that from former players. I heard that from Brian Burns the other day on Twitter, talking about Corey Campbell as a strength coach. He pushes guys to reach their goals. He will never leave their corner. He's high energy, a consistent guy, and he's going to make you work.
Yeah.
So the program's putting emphasis on those things.
Question number 2.
Why do you think so many reporters and analysts are so critical of Trey Palmer still to this day?
Because he played at Nebraska. That's the answer to that question.
That's what
there's this point of view from people that are either unfamiliar with Nebraska or just dislike the program entirely to think that because fans here are so passionate about their team and believe that they're the best ever to walk this earth, that they can't actually be the best ever to walk this earth.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the production, like there's always two ways to look at evaluation. You want the tape to validate what you see in person, or does what you see in person validate the tape? And I think with Trey Palmer, so far, at least at the Senior Bowl, what they've seen in person hasn't necessarily justified what they've seen on tape. Now, I think he's had a good last day, especially the one-on-ones versus guys like Riley Moss that give him a good look, because I think Riley Moss is he's certainly going inside the first 3 rounds. I could see him getting into the second round. And so that's a quality corner that he's working with. But I think when you hear the legendary stories about his long speed and 4.3 this, sometimes it doesn't translate in terms of what they've seen this early. So I think he's garnering a little bit of criticism. But I think it's kind of what I talked about with Malachi Coleman. Could be a great player, but it'll be relative to what you think, like what your expectation level is. Like he's got to meet the expectations, which I think is the primary reason for what he's falling victim to in terms of criticism.
Look, I'm not here to tell you Trey's the best, but all season people were critical of his ability.
Hard to argue with productivity.
Overhyped because he played for a bad football team. Being on the fallers list, come on. The only people that have fallen and still haven't gotten back up are the Purdue defensive backs.
I remember saying when broadcast,
question number 3.
It doesn't look like he's moving as fast as he is, but he doesn't get caught.
Have you seen any change in the demeanor or approach of these other teams when they come to Nebraska or recruit Nebraska kids, and now that there is a new sheriff in town?
Not yet. I still, there's not really they don't seem too uncomfortable, right? I think that hasn't changed yet. Now, will that be? Sure. Right, I saw Nebraska come back for a second visit, impromptu, and we saw how that worked out for Barnes. An impromptu visit just because they caught wind via social media about another school that was in the building. So what does Nebraska do? They come back for round 2 over on 90th and Pacific. So I think you're going to get that with this staff. They're not, again, Tom Petty, they won't back down. But
They don't leave any stone unturned.
But I haven't necessarily seen a change in other schools coming in here, right? We've seen some newbies too. North Carolina, Virginia, Northwestern. Not yet.
Yeah, in years past, coaches could capitalize in this area a lot more than they can now. I know we're short on time. Shaner, let's move on.
Question number 4.
What's a hobby that would turn you off? Would be a turn off.
The hobby.
Smoking.
Smoking a hobby?
I don't know. Is it?
It's a
Cig
de-
smoking? I don't like cigs.
It's definitely a turnoff. No offense to you smokers out there. Avery's like, not me. A hobby? I don't know.
Shane, would you consider smoking a hobby? Because you do it a lot. Like you vape.
That's different.
But he does it a lot. Is it an addiction? Is it a hobby? Like, what is it? Like, would you consider it a hobby?
A hobby would be something you'd have a general interest in, and you would go out of your way to.
Oh, I got one.
Okay, what do you got?
Those people that are like into fitness and they're losing weight and they tell you every 3 days about where they are with their progress.
You mean CrossFitters?
That's a turnoff. Let other people comment on that, not you. I don't need that. How's that?
Question number 5.
If the flag football pro game just doesn't work, turns out it sucks.
Oh, the Pro Bowl.
Flag?
The flag. How
Flag.
would you enhance the game to make it more exciting?
Oh, I've thought about this. You make it a Pro Bowl Olympics. You like that? Play off the Pro Bowl.
I get it.
Olympics.
I'm waiting for you to expound.
So you have like 10 events, and I had to write these down just so that I could be prepared for it. You have the offensive line compete in some type of food eating contest. Okay. Then you have kickers that play kickball home run derby. Okay. You have quarterbacks play dodgeball. You have defensive linemen run the 4x100 relay. And then you have wide receivers and DBs play capture the flag. Okay, you make like a day of 10 events, expand the list. But this is where it gets interesting. The winners of each event get like bonuses of some kind, whether it's 25K, 50K, 100K. And gambling.
Of course, for you.
Yes, gambling is encouraged among all the players on the field. And then you have a fan vote for each event. And whoever wins the fan vote gets an all expenses paid trip to the Super Bowl.
I can't top that. Shane, number 6. I can't.
Question number 6.
If you get offered $1 billion to never attend a sporting event again, would you take it?
How much?
$1 billion.
Yeah, I stopped yesterday. Sorry.
I'd take the $1 billion.
Sorry,
too.
kids. I'll be streaming your games.
In my gold throne.
Yeah, I'm out.
I'm the same. I'm with DB there. I'm going to sit at home. Even though I don't have kids yet and I haven't gotten to experience those moments.
I don't know.
with
Would
them,
you take $1 billion to miss your little boy or girl's first like T-ball game?
It's online. I'm paying somebody to stream it to home.
Wow, we're so shallow.
It's $1 billion.
No, I get it. I don't even know if I have to think about that.
Hey, speaking of streaming games, how about streaming some high school basketball games this weekend? Maybe Omaha Central is on your bucket list. We're going to talk to Bruce Chubick Jr., head boys basketball coach, next here on Coffee and Cream. A lot of things that I'd like to talk to him about because it's a family business for him.
I'll let you get right to it.
That's next here on Coffee and Cream. Hey, in a few moments, we'll talk to Bruce Chubick Jr., head boys basketball coach at Omaha Central. At 8 o'clock, we're talking to Ahman Green. In his Twitter bio, NFL legend. I love how he gave himself that own tag.
Self-gloss.
Some NFL legend, head coach, gamer, and host. I'm excited to talk to him about his gaming ability. You know, that was kind of a soft spot.
How about like most people when they get AG, it's like, you know, we're talking either football, you know, comic books, Batman. He's a heck of a gamer. Your very first question to me was, We need to figure out what games he likes. I like the game. I was like,
hey, do you remember what
who
they are?
says that?
Do you remember because you gave me 3 games?
Madden,
Madden,
NBA 2K,
correct. And then it was like a new
Valorant.
one. Yeah,
Valorant.
I've never played that one.
And there's one in the middle. Because I'm just I'm remembering the text in my head. What was in between Madden and NBA 2K?
I thought there were only 3.
There's 4. So should I look it up? Isn't it weird
go
how
ahead.
my mind works?
It is.
I'm
Well, you remember
and I'm
things.
memorizing it based on how it looked on my text.
Mhm.
And it was Halo.
Oh,
and,
Halo.
And where does Halo reside? In between?
Madden and
2K. NBA 2K. I knew there was a word in between there.
Unbelievable. We're talking to Michael Bruntz at 8:30, and then we'll end the show, as we always do on a Friday, with Mike Sautter. Our poll question of the day, if you want to go take a vote on that, it's at Varsity Radio. Was outside of Malice in the Palace, what would you say comes in second for best brawl in sports? I only gave 4 options. I know there's plenty others out there, but there's Garrett Rudolph is what I gave, KU, K-State, college basketball, the Yankees, Boston, ALCS Game 3, and New York Rangers, Boston Bruins fight that ended up going into the stands. So if you want to vote on that, go there, and we'll touch on that a little bit more later on in the show. Let's go to line 1 right now. Bruce Chubick Jr. on with us. He's the head boys basketball coach at Omaha Central. Bruce, good morning.
Good morning. What's going on?
Coach, how are you, man? Good to talk to you.
Yeah, good to talk to you guys too.
Hey, Coach, former assistant at Omaha South, won 2 state titles there. Your dad was the head coach. Now roles are reversed. You're the head coach, and your dad's playing assistant. How much of a role model is he to you? And, what have you learned just by having him as a resource all of these years?
Well, obviously most of what I've learned from him. He's been the most influential piece on my basketball philosophy my whole life, really. So, a lot of where I come from on what I think and what I want to do comes from what I've learned from him. So, he's kind of taken the role on of offensive coordinator, and I'm on the defensive side of it. And he's loving it because he said, all these years I've been the guy working on the defense, and now I get to concentrate on the offense. This is fun.
Coach, it's interesting. Obviously I follow it close. And just watching your schedule, you're right there, and it has been tough. And I don't know, if you believe in, good losses or bad losses, but your laundry list of losses, and there's still only the 6, are pretty good, right? Bellevue West, East, Millard North, Gretna. Those are the who's who. Early on, as this season started, as you kind of wind up getting ready to be seeded for districts, do you like the way that the schedule has broken out?
I do, because we got challenged early, and I felt like you said, we were able to compete in those games with the exception of Bellevue West. Obviously, a lot of people
they've done that to a lot of people
with them, right? But that's not much consolation. And to answer your question, no, I mean, you never are going to look at losses and go, "Oh, that's a good loss." You're a competitor, you know how that goes. But I think you can learn from losses sometimes, and I think you can take things out of it that are useful, that are going to help you in the grand scheme of things, the big picture. And I think the kids they're very resilient. They've become very tough-minded, and I feel like, we're starting to peak. I don't think we're at our peak, but I think we're starting to get there, and this is the right time of year to be starting to peak.
Coach, you're a better man than me, probably DB as well. And here's why. I was talking to DB after the show yesterday, and, I don't know if I could ever coach for a rival. I asked DB, I said, DB, if you were the coach at Nebraska, could you coach at Iowa? There was no hesitation before he said no. And then he's like, well, what about you? Cardinal fan, could you coach for the Cubs? I'm like, probably not. Yet here we are. You're doing exactly that. Was that, internally tough for you, or did you look at that opportunity as something that could be great for you because maybe it allowed you to create your own destiny at that point rather than follow in your father's footsteps?
I think it was a little bit of that. I think it was a little bit of just wanting to go somewhere where, where it wasn't like, oh, you just followed your dad. But it was more just a change in the dynamics at South caused me to look outside. And I want to stay in the city. I like being coaching at the city schools. And Central, obviously, with the history and all Coach Behrens was able to do here was, it's a challenge. You're going to walk into big footsteps either way in that situation. But the rivalry thing, I thought for, about 5 minutes about it. But at the end of the day, it's a great job. It's a great school. And we have a chance to put a different brand on it, a good brand that's just different than what they've been used to. And it was a challenge, and I like a challenge. So
one of the things I think that's pretty understated about you is, because you have the gruff voice, big presence, big physically, you're so good with kids relationally. I see you at a lot of games that aren't just high school games. I see you in the summer. I know Awed, I know Elijah, I know what those guys think about you. Where did that come from? Because you're really good when it comes. You said you like coaching at city schools, right? That automatically tugs at my heart because it takes all kinds. When I watch you connect, where'd that come from?
That's just, most of the guys that I played with in college, friendly or friends with a lot of them too. And just kind of, I don't know, that was something that one of the coaches I played for had talked about diversity, that he was going to have a racially balanced team. And I said, Coach, I don't care a lick about that. All I care about is that we're all treated fairly. If I'm the only white guy on the team, that's cool. I have no problem with that. I said, that's not a thing. He's thinking, I'm a kid from Atkinson, Nebraska. I went to high school there, but grew up here. I'm like, you don't even need to discuss it. That's not a thing for me. Kids are kids, and I think it's just sometimes when we're in the city school, I think we have an opportunity to make more of a difference, maybe in different locations, and that's what I like. And the connection, like you said, these guys don't understand, but when they come back from college or 10 years later and they're a dad and established in the world, that's the best feeling in the world for a coach. We love to see them out there becoming successful people, husbands, fathers, all that. You know how it is.
Yeah.
We're talking to Bruce Chubick Jr., head boys basketball coach at Omaha Central. It's a part of our coaching corner, as we do every Friday here on the show, Coffee and Cream. You can toss him a follow on Twitter at bchub44. Coach, big one tomorrow against 9th-ranked Elkhorn South. The Storm playing in a back-to-back. They get Westside tonight, and in less than 24 hours, they'll then take the court against you guys. How much of that went into your game plan this week, and how important will it be to jump on them early in that game, especially because they're on short rest?
Well, that's a tough schedule for them, and to Damon's point earlier, we've had a little bit of a rough stretch ourselves. So we're probably not going to shed tears for Elkhorn South. But the other side of it is they're a very good team, and I don't care if they're playing the Lakers tonight. They'll come out ready to play tomorrow, and we're not. That isn't going into the game plan at all. We want to make sure that we're doing what we need to try to take away the things that they do best and to try to accentuate the things that we do best.
Coach, you've coached for some teams that have been the proverbial front runner, one of the most dominant high school teams, some say ever, certainly in the last 30 years. So you know what it's like to be the front runner. You also know what it's like to run down the pack too. When you look at the way that this team is built, do you like the fact that how you play when it comes to catching some of these teams from the rear? Because I think Central's a little overlooked right now in terms of being a difficult opponent, especially the way you defend.
Yeah, and that's something that has kind of built over time. The kids, I think in the beginning, there was still a little bit of that feeling that we were going to come out and outscore people 82-75. You know, there may be a game somewhere in this year that's like that, but I didn't feel that was the type of team that we had. That, you know, we've been preaching that from day one. You know, for us to be as good as I think we're capable of being, we have to be a really good defense team. Yeah, we want to push the ball. Yeah, we want to score points. But we've got to be able to take away what other people like to do best, because when we're not shooting well, or, you know, when it's not that clean of an offensive game, we have to have ways that we can, you know, grind out wins, and we've been able to do that. Some of the wins that we've won by just a few points have been from grinding that out defensively.
Yeah. Lincoln High comes to mind.
Bruce, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the time, Coach.
Hey, coming up next, we're going to talk to Ahman Green. He is a former Green Bay Packer, made a couple of Pro Bowls. I made DB guess how many yesterday. Head coach, gamer, and more. He's next. Let's get to Ahman Green now. Ahman's on StreamYard with us, and yes, he's got a game set up too.
Are you? Would you expect anything less from the legend?
Man, this is my job. This is what I do.
Hey, Ahman, quickly here. Tell me, favorite video game of all time?
Oh man, see, I gotta break it. I have so many. I gotta break it down to like genre and like the age I was at. So
okay, let's do it. Name them all.
I'll start when between the ages of 0 and 10. It was a toss up between Super Mario Brothers and Tecmo Bowl.
Okay,
so,
people love that game.
And then 10 to 20. What was I playing a lot? Because that was between high school and college then. And so I was into some Madden, even though I was getting my butt kicked a lot, especially when I got on campus and Jay Sims was my roommate.
You know.
I was like, he just wanted to play just for, he said, hey, G, I just need a practice run. I'm like, man, you going to beat me by 100 points.
And he would try too.
I was like, bro, I don't want, it just don't, I got to sleep. I don't want that on my mental. You know, so I would say between Madden and Tekken in those years, and then see once I got pro, so 20 to 30, I'll say 20 to now is like Halo. It's pretty much Halo and Madden, and I've been playing some more 2K too because I'm. Oh, and Mike Demp says, "What's up, DB?"
Oh, tell Demps what's good.
Yeah, that's who I'm staying with right now. So we've been playing 2K. And he's got my game to the point. It's not the normal basketball game where, you know, you try to pass it around 3 times before you go to the hoop. Man, I got to shoot threes against this dude. That's all he shoots is deep. He's shooting like Stephon Curry from the deep. Every time he comes down the court. So I'm like, okay, I can't keep up with some dunks and stuff. I got to go 3 points too.
So Andrew was he was doing his show prep yesterday and this week getting ready for you. And he didn't realize how all the interest you have outside of football.
Oh, yeah.
And I told him, I said, it's funny you say that. And I've said this to people. The two of the best players that I've ever been around that don't come across as all in on loving football are Ahman Green and Eric Crouch. If you spend any time around those two guys, they'll talk to you about everything other than just football. And you're like, there's way more depth to those guys. But you've always been like that, right? Like you've never been one of those guys that's, you know, always talking about football or running or any, like you have lots of other interests, but still we're very, very good at your craft.
Yeah. I agree with that. I say because but I'm like now I got 3 potentially and been asked to do 2 more podcasts that I want to do, which are Husker podcasts, and since I've been back at home, so I do a gaming podcast, Ahman Green's Gamers Lounge, and then I do 2 Packer podcasts. Both of them with former teammates, Mike Wall, Gilbert Brown, and Dorsey Levens, and
Dorsey Levens, sweet.
And it's fun, you know. It's fun. We laugh, like kind of like what you guys right here got the setup, and you have a good time. You talk a little football. You talk about, you know, whatever else y'all might hit in other segments, stuff like that. And And you know me, I wasn't that talker sitting in the running back room. I just sat back and observed the calamity that would go on between you, Lawrence, Clinton, and Coach Solich.
Yeah.
I would just let me sit back and shut my mouth, and so I don't get threatened by LP or threatened by CC to stop talking, or Coach Solich giving you that look like you in trouble and you might get benched for the day. So I was like, no, I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna just be quiet. And but I learned how to observe very well during those days, and as a kid growing up. But like I said, it was just interesting. And I say one thing, happy to be back home. It feels good. It's the last 3 weeks of getting inducted back into campus. Now as a faculty member, it's been amazing. It's been fun. I'll say that. It's been a lot of fun.
Before we get into that, because the gaming, I know Andrew's chomping at the bit. Let me stay right there with the dynamics in that running back room, because it was different and it's highly competitive, and guys, loved on each other, but we were hard on each other.
Yep.
So do you think, because this was asked to me a couple of months ago, with the availability and the ease of the transfer portal and how guys can just go to other schools,
right?
Do you think that's something that you would have utilized early on? Because for me, I answered the question like this. I said, I wanted to quit once, especially when I was a freshman, but my dad wouldn't let me come home. So I didn't know
good parenting right there. Good job.
I didn't know what I would do or where I would go. So I kind of hung out, but I wanted to win too. Like I felt like if I just got a little, that would be enough to get me to where I wanted to go. Like,
right.
How did you feel? Because it wasn't always rainbows and butterflies with us.
No, it wasn't. It sure wasn't. How I felt was, you know what? Okay, I gotta sit on the bench for a couple years or whatever it is going to be, and I better be ready to play when it's my turn. That was it. That's how I looked at it, because you kind of knew I was out in Cali as a kid growing up, and it was hyper competitive. I mean, I'm in Los Angeles, California, 6 blocks from Crenshaw High School, that produce athletes literally every year on the year. Football, baseball, basketball. Then Dorsey High School is another 5 miles away from my high school, where I lived. I mean, not my high school. And again, a ton of athletes. So for the Pop Warner leagues, for the Little League baseball that I played in, I mean, I didn't even play T-ball. I went straight. It was no T-ball in South Central. It was overhand pitch, and they were throwing heat and curveballs. It's like, how? I'm like, man, I'm 10 years old. I'm like, how that pitcher throw that? I'm like, oh my god, this is nice. I said, I better sit down and shut up. And so I learned how to hit a curveball real quick. By the age of 12, I loved the curveball. I'd sit back on it. Yeah, I'm like, so it's just, I was around these hyper athletes, really good, and it was hard to measure because you didn't know, like, you knew either very fast or you hit hard in Cali. That was it. In football, you either were a good tackler and you were not afraid of contact, or you were fast as all get out. That was it. If you're going to see the bench, if you're going to see the field, I mean. And then baseball was the other way. It was either you were a very good pitcher, or you hit the ball out the park. It was one of those. So when I got back, and by the time from high school to college, that my mindset was, I had been around the best and didn't even realize it. And I just matured that way. So when I got to Nebraska, it was just like, oh, okay, I'm back in Cali again. I'm back. I got LP, I got you, I got J Sims, I got CC. I'm like, I got all these top end athletes. I'm like, well, I'll just wait around, make sure I know my playbook, and then when my time comes, I better be ready. Because, I remember my mom and dad, when we met with Coach Osborne for the first time, he was at the house on my senior year at Central, and my dad asked him, "Will my son get a chance to play? That's all I want." He said, "Well, Mr. Scott," he said, "as long as Ahman, gets in his playbook and he studies his plays and he doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes, I'm not going to promise that he's going to play his freshman year, but I will say if he does get a chance and he shows us that he's capable of doing the job, he'll play." And my dad said, "That's all I needed to know."
That's his cadence too. That
is his pay. I've been doing that conversation for like 20 years, DB. So I know, and it's like when he would talk, it was like Morgan Freeman talking. You You know how you hear Morgan Freeman in the background and does a voiceover for any movie out there? That was T.O. I'm surprised he didn't go into that business, man. He could have been the best voiceover actor ever, along with Morgan Freeman.
Oh,
Hey, Ahman, you know, for you, you probably did a lot of trash talking whenever you played.
No,
zero. No,
you probably did a lot when you went to the NFL, and now
no trash talking.
Tell me how trash talking though could carry over to maybe video games for you.
Oh well,
like do you ever talk a lot of trash?
No, DB knows that. I say nothing. I say nothing, and it was lessons. I mean, I already knew this because my two older brothers, Jerry and Nikki, they taught me I think I was not even 5 years old. They was like, when I got right before I started playing football, I played flag football when I was 6, and I remember them telling me, over the phone. They call me, I heard, Mom signed you up for football, so for flag football this year. Boy, don't be talking trash. And this was just flag, so it wasn't even contact yet. And so they're just getting me ready. And so I learned then, okay? But then when I get to Lincoln with these knuckleheads in the room, man, between DB,
oh man,
and LP, it was DB, LP, Jason. Like I said, these not the only guys in the room. We got some Steve Raymond and a few other guys. Brian Schuster, Todd Euler.
Who could hold Schuster could hold his own.
Yeah, he could trash
talk.
So right before meetings would start with our individual meetings with Coach Solich, so he's out doing whatever he's doing to prepare for our meeting. So we get in the room, and that's when the shagoolery would start, And whatever. So I'm like I said, I'm just observing. I'm just a fly on the wall.
Oh boy.
And I come in the room, and they already at it, and because they've been hanging out with each other all weekend. And David LP probably took a couple L's in Madden, and CC is like, man, I don't even play that game. The game is stupid. And DB is like, I'm the best in the room.
He doesn't check.
I'm the best in the room. And then Jay Sims is just sitting back laughing. He's like, yeah, okay, whatever. He said, but what about when I put 50 on you, a DB? I'm like, dang. I'm like, God, no. He said, well, what happened was, I'm like, okay, I know where that goes after that. So it was fun. It was interesting. Like once the season started, once we got out of training camp, man, it was the pleasure of the week coming into meetings. If it wasn't Oklahoma week or some serious game, when it was the Monday and Tuesday meetings, when we could still feel our bodies. We weren't numb yet from all the physicality. That room was fun. It was an interesting room, and that conversation was mostly Madden. Every now and then, what was it? NBA Live on EA was out. Live was out, and then you played against other guys like TV. And TV, we talked about this. I just saw him over the summer. He would, Tony Veland. He would cover his hands with the Nintendo controller like this.
Yeah, so you couldn't see what plays that he was picking.
Yeah, it was Tecmo Bowl too.
Done it before.
Yeah,
he was really good at that.
Yeah, I saw you click that play.
Yeah, so he covered up and he did that. It was just to hear that stuff and to know these guys like that. It was just like, hey, we good. We got a good group. Hey, you gotta have thick skin. You gotta have thick skin. Yeah. Be ready to go though. So
do you remember when Lawrence put on Coach Solich's coat that was hanging on the door and pretended to be Coach?
He did that multiple times. He just didn't do that one time. He did that a few times. And I think the one time he put it on, and it was like just as he put it on, Coach Solich walked in the door, and he sat down in the seat with the jacket on, and we were all there losing it. We're DB's laughing like he's laughing right now. CC is just shaking his head like, and I'm in the back. I'm like, I don't know. Are we all gonna get in trouble for this?
Ahman is like, hey, that's them.
He's such a good kid.
He was the only good one.
You separate the room. Ahman's all by himself on the right, and everybody else is on the left.
Sort of good behavior.
I'm like, man, are we about to get it? All of us is about to get it. And Coach Solich sits down. He's looking at us like, why everybody laughing? And then he looks and he takes a double take. He looks over at LP. He's like, take off the jacket.
It looked like a cutoff on LP.
Yeah, the sleeves were like up to here. It was like up to here.
That was close. Was he built like a stop sign?
Oh yeah. Coach Solich he's like Shane size, but he was yoked.
Yeah, he was yoked. I had tried to do a push-up contest with him. He beat me. He was
the real deal.
He was always working out.
We're talking to Ahman Green. In your bio, NFL legend, it says. I love that. Head coach, gamer, and host Ahman Green 30 on Twitter. Ahman, also a big comic book guy. I know a lot of people pick your brain about your love and infatuation for Batman.
Yeah.
And you have a Batman tattoo, if I'm correct.
Yep. It's on my leg.
Maybe a question that may be a little more off ball because I feel like we
He showed you his tattoo. You guys are officially boys now. Look at this.
I feel like
and in Batman pajamas.
I see the bottoms. Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like we're comfortable with one another right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have a lot of tattoos, and do you have one that like maybe you regret?
No. I what I did because I learned my brothers helped me out. They said, bro, like if you start getting tattoos, be smart. Like get something that you want to look at when you're 80 and be like, you'd be satisfied. You didn't want to just go in there willy-nilly because you're young and dumb and you all hyped up about getting some tattoo and you get a picture of like, I don't know, something dumb. I don't know what could be really dumb, but I've seen some dumb tattoos. I'm like, ooh, I seen
Mary.
I was out at a restaurant at a bar. This was late this season in Green Bay, and I saw a grown man with a tramp stamp. And I'm like, bro, what were you thinking? I mean, I don't know the guy. I'm like, just seeing this from distance, like, oh my God. I said, babe, I was sitting with my wife. I'm like, I said, babe, look at this. Like, my man got a tramp stamp. I'm like, oh man. I'm like, so I put some thought into mine. So I put thought. So I think, see my bulldog over here. I actually got this.
Yeah, that's a monster.
Yeah, right there. I got him right before I left campus. So it's like going into my junior year. And then my name on top of it, I got that in my freshman year. If y'all can see it.
I can see it. Yeah.
There you go.
Looks good.
And then the tribal tat was when I got to Green Bay. We made a tattoo guy. His name is Rick. Rick was really cool. He was a Packer fan, so he hooked us up. So he took care of us. A lot of guys went there. I think he retired and his son took over. That's who put the Batman tattoo on my calf there. And so I think I only have a couple on my back too. So
hey, best Batman of all time?
Oh, Michael Keaton.
Not Christian Bale? That's me.
I like no. Christian Bale, what is it? Including he passed away. The original Batman from TV series.
Adam West,
he including him along. So it's what 5 of them total, like big screen.
I can't believe you just said Michael Keaton though.
So Mike, well, you got me. Remember this? I was 12 years old in 1989.
Oh yeah, impressionable.
I was impressionable. So I was impressed, but was a little comical with the syndicated Batman series with Adam West because I'm like, Batman looks kind of like soft in the muscle tone there. As a kid, I'm like, because I was watching Arnold Schwarzenegger on Commando and Terminator, and so I knew what working out looked like for acting. And I'm like, Adam West not hitting the weight room, man. But these shows are hilarious. I like these shows. The Bam Splat Boom, and Burt Ward with the off the cuff nursery rhyme. Holy rusted metal Batman. I'm like, oh dear God, this is hilarious. So that got me started, but then, like I said, I didn't quite fall in love with it. But then when I saw Michael Keaton, Kim Basinger, Prince did the soundtrack of that movie, Tim Burton was the director, Robert Wall was the co-star. Oh man, that was awesome. And then so that's one, and then Adam West, and then Christian Bale is mine. Right after Michael Keaton is Christian Bale for me, and then I say Ben because George and Val, I don't know what they were doing either. I blame it. See, I haven't never met them. So what I've been saying about Christian and or Val Kilmer and George Clooney when they did their roles, I said it was all the director's fault potentially, because you have to direct the actor into saying, "Hey, this is Batman. This is who he is. Study it. Here's all the material. Watch movies. Read the comic books." Maybe that directors, didn't do that. So I give them the benefit of the doubt because I haven't met them. I don't want to judge an actor on their acting skills because I tried, but it didn't work out. So I'm good.
As we've been thoroughly entertained by a streaming legend right now, Ahman Green.
You know,
I got to get into
you
this.
joked with me talking about the best interviews. This one may be the best interview.
Easy going. Hey, so AG, let's close on this one. You got to tell the story how the whole how did the e-com, who made the call, and how how happy are you that this is you getting credits and scholarships?
Yeah, I love it. So Sherry Vell, the dean of students at College of Journalism and Mass Communications, gave me the call, and it was always in the back of my head my first year at Lakeland, because I found we ended up playing Nebraska Esports, the club team in Call of Duty, and I'm like, oh, that's my school. So I was a little excited to play our school, and they wrecked us. I was like, ooh, they boys and girls are good. Ooh, they put it on us. I was like, man. So I was like, okay, good. I said, good. I was like, GG's. And they were excited. It was crazy. So they were talking to my players. Hey, we heard Ahman Green's your coach and all that stuff. So it was like, real cool that I'm like, I didn't think they would know about me because they were they probably wasn't even born. So, but that was cool. And then, so that's when I was like, oh, I didn't know they had an esports club. I was like, hadn't talked to nobody. So I didn't know nothing. And that was 2020. So, but you fast forward to now, and then got the conversation with Sherry. She reached out through email, and then it was like, man, this could be real. I said, I hope this could work out. And then probably about a month later, then got the call, because we talked about, the budget, building all that out. I asked them where the program was actually at, and she said they have a club team now that meet, virtually online, and they do all their matches as a student body on their own. And I'm like, okay, I see we're out there to work in and get to know the players, get to understand the processes of what they do for practice, picking out coaches and all, and picking the games and the roster. So I was like, I got to learn that. And so once I got the actual phone call, it was like, man, this is pretty cool. So I hung up with Sherry, called my wife right away, and she was super excited. But it's like, we got a lot of stuff going on. We're like, got me here. And then we're on the process of working, moving into to Texas, down to Houston. So we're actually doing two little things at one time, but it's working out here. And thank God I got good friends, and I say former alumni like Mike Dempsey, staying with his house, and his wife allowed me to hang out with them for a couple weeks here before we close on our house here. So it's just been.
Well, Demps makes enough money; he can afford it.
So, oh man, yeah, he's doing great. What he does with his job, building houses here in Lincoln.
He's a monster. Good.
He's a very, very smart business guy. So
very much so. He's the real deal.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the process. I mean, and since I've been in, so officially I started January 16th, and from that day I've picked up new teammates. So the journalism college of faculty members it's awesome, man. It's just full of support, helping me teaching, get my teaching plan together. That's going to be I got to put in this app called Canvas, and because I'll be teaching the class. So DB, you got time? You want to sneak in the room, or
you
on the stream?
Yeah, I'm gonna get you hooked up with Terrence Crawford too. If you guys haven't played, he is a gamer.
Okay,
he's legit.
And I tell people, athletes, all the time, we have that time because we do our main job, and then we got to rest and relax, and that's what we do in our spare time. A lot of guys on the team will go hunting, or what else, guys? Maybe play
fishing,
golf,
yeah.
fishing. I'm like, I will go fishing every blue moon, and at all the years since Lincoln and being in Green Bay, being in the Midwest, all these years, I think I've hunted one time, and fell asleep, didn't see or hit nothing. I'm like, why do y'all hunt? I'm like, this is boring. We were out here 4 hours, it's freezing cold, and only thing I caught was a nap. Bro.
You did not disappoint, AG.
Right.
Always amazing.
Yeah,
hey,
man.
we appreciate you, man.
Yeah, appreciate you. But real quick, like I said, the shout out to the journalism faculty. It's been awesome. And the students. The students been coming on, knocking on the door, introducing themselves to me. So they've been really proactive at that. So I expect nothing less, being back home and having the welcoming that's been going on. So I appreciate to everybody on campus so far.
They've probably never seen a 6'2.5", 220-pound monster teaching their class.
Teaching video games, right? That was kind of the same look when I got hired at Lakeland University. They was like, you play football, right? Why are you coaching video games? They looked a little scared. They was like, what's these practices gonna be like?
Oh shoot!
Like, it's gonna be full contact esports practice. If you don't get the shot, I'm gonna blindside you. No, I'm kidding. I'm just messing with you. I'm just
not really though, right?
You're fantastic.
Oh, man.
Hey,
Good talking to you,
I
DB.
All right, buddy.
you.
Appreciate you.
We'll play Fortnite sometime. I get dubs.
Oh, I'm down. I'm
All right,
down.
let's do it.
No
let's do
builds. I don't build. I
No
shoot.
builds, neither do I.
Yeah, I don't build. I shoot. That's it.
All right, let's do it.
I tell my nephew that. My great nephew that.
Wow. Yeah, we're gonna play. And with Caleb, because Caleb plays too.
Yeah.
All right. We'll talk soon, man.
Hey, I'll talk soon. I'll send DB my gamer tags.
Oh,
You got
great. Perfect. That is Ahman Green, man. Was that a fun interview? We're gonna talk to Michael Bruntz next. Michael on line one. Michael Bruntz with us on the show. Michael, good morning.
How you guys doing?
Hey, you a coffee guy?
Oh, big coffee guy.
Oh yeah, Brunsey is team coffee.
What's your vice? Like, are you a latte guy, or are you like just straight black? Do you like it just with a little cream? What is it?
Straight black, no foof.
God, that is hardcore.
Yeah, he's hardcore.
I would not have guessed that, Brunsey. I know you talk about always getting your cups of coffee, and I would not have guessed you as a straight up guy.
Yeah, no. If it gets bad enough, you kind of have to start doing the red eyes too, with the shot of espresso in the coffee.
Oh my goodness!
Holy cow! You're an animal.
See, it's always you Mensa guys that don't they keep it like basic. He's a genius, Brunsey. It's pick your poison, because you're one of the few guys that we talk to that can cover
a lot of different things.
A lot of different sports. We could go baseball with that just starting. We could go basketball. And, of course, we could put a bow on recruiting. It is the Brunsey special. Where would you like to start?
Let's put a bow on recruiting and then double back on a little baseball.
How hard was it for you this year to arrive at some semblance of a Super Six?
In a class of basically like half sleepers, it was pretty tough. and I mean that's just the nature of how Matt Rule's going to recruit. I mean, I think if you include the transfers, I think you can get there pretty easily. But man, if it's just the high school and the JUCO guys, it's tough, and you're almost kind of having to trust your own evaluations of Matt Rule's evaluations. So it's tough, but yeah, I mean, at least you have options. I mean, it's a massive class, so you got some guys to choose from.
Who would you say is a favorite of yours on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball?
Well, I think obviously Malachi Coleman's an easy one to start with on offense. For a guy that size that runs that way, and I was pretty impressed with what I heard from just his attitude at the Polynesian Bowl practices. I mean, he really stepped it up against better competition than probably what he's seen in state, and that's a significant thing, I think, sometimes for guys that are from states that are at least a little more lightly recruited. So I'd go there. I mean, if you're kind of looking at different guys on offense, I mean, of that offensive line group, I really like Sam Sledge and kind of what his long-term potential is as an interior lineman. I mean, it seems like you look at what he did during his high school career, and he just kind of gradually kept moving towards the interior of the offensive line with each year, and he moves well. I think he's got a really kind of good comportment for being a center long term. And I think that's a spot that Nebraska struggled with. It's a tough spot to recruit to find guys that are true centers, and you're not trying to kind of round peg, square hole something. And I think just long term, I think he's a good option there. And I like the fact that they've got Ben Scott for a couple of years as a transfer to kind of let Sledge grow up behind him. So that's kind of where I'd go on offense. Defensively, I mean, Eric Fields is a guy you have to like. And
Team Bruntz.
What's that?
I'm Team Bruntz. You're 2 for 2 right now. I think Sam Sledge is a multi-year starter, and I think Fields is the most dynamic defensive player they recruited.
I liked Fields anyways. And then when you're like, okay, we're going to run a 3-3-5, you're like, oh, okay, that's a little bit more interesting. I don't know if that's your rover long term or where you're going to put him, but I mean, you watch his film and he runs well. He gets to the ball with violence when he gets there, and you just as a little bit of an undersized linebacker, you don't want to say the name, but I mean, you kind of start thinking Levante David when you're watching it. And again, you don't want to say the name, but I think that's, a huge get for them as a guy that was really overlooked and didn't have a ton of. I mean, his only other official visit was Arkansas State.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's just a really nice job of evaluating and recruiting there.
Bronzy, let's go to baseball because I thought it was interesting. Around here, this, Nebraska fans don't like to hear the word culture, chemistry. They give you the eye roll. I think Coach Bolton and his staff, they were kind of letting you know, and his presser, that last year wasn't all that fun. He's got a little bit of an older group this year, and they're stressing chemistry. Did that surprise you that he was so public about that?
No, not at all. I know just that group last year, it just didn't ever click. And I don't know if part of it was you're coming off a year where you had Jackson Hallmark, Spencer Schwellenbach, these really big personalities, competitive guys. But it just, they really struggled with it last year. And then when you have Kyle Perry and Jake Buns both go down, two guys who were really important kind of mentality guys, it just didn't fit. And, I know in the offseason this year, in the fall, a big thing for this team was they started playing competitive ultimate frisbee. Like that was the thing that they got together and did. And it got so competitive that like they had to start making rules about, you can't do this, you can't do that, because they were afraid that somebody was going to get hurt. And that just is kind of the idea, I think, of, breeding competitiveness, but also being able to hang out with guys after you're done. I mean, it really does feel significantly different. And a lot of the kind of leadership faces are the same, but I think they've added some JUCO guys and some older type pieces to this roster that really kind of fit and mesh well. So does that matter? Yeah. I mean, you look at their record in 1- and 2-run games last year, and you have to think that stuff like that can help you turn some of those losses into wins, which is what they're going to have to do this year.
20 new faces on the roster again from last year to this year, and that's kind of been a theme over the course of the Will Bolt tenure. So, continue with that point, putting emphasis on culture and chemistry have to be huge, but how do you get there with like so many, with changeover over and over and over again? Competition.
Yeah, I mean, it is competition. I mean, you had 46 guys in fall camp, and it almost kind of felt a little bit to me like, guys knew they're playing for spots. It was kind of cutthroat, and when you have to do that, I think it's a little bit different feeling than last year when you're kind of coming off of a Big Ten title. So I think that helps. I think they also have a nice mix of guys. I mean, you have some guys like a Charlie Fisher who is probably in his last year of baseball and is ready to, kind of do whatever he can for the team to win. Kyle Perry's a veteran guy that's been around and seen some things. Buns is the same way. Shea Shanneman. I mean, those guys wouldn't have come back, and they had the option not to if they weren't going to be all bought in for the team. So I think that's how you do it. And, I think it's been more player-led too this time, which I think helps a ton.
Bronzy, before we let you go, can Nebraska basketball play in a certain way down the stretch that offsets a 30% win clip?
I'd like to say yes, but it just feels like a team right now that they'll give you 30 good minutes, but they just don't have that extra oomph to get them over the top. I mean, they played Illinois tight. I think it's going to have to be kind of if they're going to win games, they're going to have to be rock fights, and you're going to need somebody to step up and kind of have a really good game, whether it's Casey or, you get Wiltshire finally making shots or something like that. I mean, it's the recipe doesn't look great right now for this team. I mean, you lost two guys that were so imperative to the way you do things and kind of making those plays at the end of games that you have to make to win. So to me, it's just you almost got to kind of get to the old Rutgers approach and just turn them into rock fights. And I don't know if they can do that right now.
DB, we have rock fights all the time.
Yes, we
right?
do.
We just throw rocks at each other.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not what he's saying. Michael, thanks so much, man. We appreciate your time, and hopefully we talk again soon.
All the best, Brunsey.
Sounds good, guys. Yeah,
He's the senior writer for Husker 24/7 Sports. Now, when we come back, we're going to be talking to Mike Sautter. He's in-house. We still need to get to our
The
last
remaining Super Six.
3 Super 6 players. Now, I gave my interchangeable, so I only have 2 plus the sleeper. More of that coming your way. Hey, we're winding down Friday as we do every Friday with Mike Sautter, apparently. It's Acres Ale time, too, to wind down my weekend with. To wind down my week with, to go into the weekend with. They brew their beer with what kind of corn? Whose corn's better, DB? Nebraska's corn. That's right. Crisp and clean with a light, refreshing flavor. It's locally brewed. It's the perfect beer. I'm telling you guys, when you are done with high school basketball tonight and you're like, oh, man, my week is cashed. Oh, get an Acres Ale.
God, I'll be
the one you want.
I'll be sprinting, too, because I'm coming from Millard South, which is arguably
Elkhorn South.
the second
I would've
worst,
walked.
the second worst place to watch a basketball game that's not West Side with the parking lot to get to West Side, Elkhorn South.
Omaha Central's pretty bad.
Yeah, but you know what? I know where to park.
That's
We'll
true.
talk
On the
about that.
backside under the.
Yeah, I got. And because I'll walk on the front end to get out quicker on the back end.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't have any problems.
Yeah.
People want your segments to be longer, and so I told people, full disclosure, when we cut out the uhs and ums, there's a lot of information in between. So what? We're family, right?
Yeah.
We're not in the
Constructive
trust.
criticism, right?
That's all right.
Yeah.
I just need to go. I just stuttered right there, didn't I? God dang.
Where are you going tonight?
I think I'm gonna go back. I was at West Point last night for the East Husker Conference girls semifinals, which was North Bend Central and Oakland Craig won those games. And I think I'm gonna go back there for the boys. Here's why. Howells Dodge, I think, has a chance to make a run in D1, and I just like to see as many as many teams as I can that I think might be in the conversation for a state title. So I know what I'm talking about when it comes to March. So I think I'm going to do that. By the way, Caitlin Emanuel she needs more run. Like,
well, it's the coverage though. Like, I mean,
she's phenomenal.
We need more Mike Sauters.
She is
Mike
the
Sautter.
best. She might, if there's like athlete of the year stuff, she's definitely in the conversation. 100%, and has been. They're trying for 4 straight state titles in basketball. She's made it in volleyball a handful of times, or led her team to it. We're talking about North Bend Central, and the crazy thing about it is she doesn't really care next level stuff. She's never done AAU or club volleyball stuff. Nothing.
Yeah,
nothing. She's lifeguarded and like thrown hay bales and stuff. That's it.
Who wins tonight? The girl Patriots or the Lady Mustangs?
Ooh, is it 5:30?
You know it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a one big rivalry game, right?
Yeah, 0 love loss.
Less than 0 probably if you can get there. Is that Millard South?
Correct.
Maybe Millard North, just because I like the depth.
Do they have enough dog?
That's what the thing is, because I know the 3 girls at Millard South do have that in them, and you're gonna have to play hard, physical game, all that stuff, and I don't know. Gosh, now you're making me want to change my mind on where I go to.
It's gonna be a fantastic environment.
Yeah. Elkhorn Southwest side is another one on the boys. You could double dip.
Hey, can I ask you real quick, what makes them so tough to play against? Because they don't have an elite player outside of maybe Elkhorn South.
Oh.
Outside of,
Noonan.
I mean, Noonan is tough, right? And I love it. I'm a huge fan. They make life miserable on everybody.
Yeah, I think they're pretty balanced and good athletes. Like Jackson Muller Swan's good athlete.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Was great football year.
Throw him a ball.
I think Alec just provides a different. They're not a bunch of rah looking.
Now he's a dog.
Yes, but there isn't a bunch of look at me. Whatever. They're not. They make a play. They're not like talking stuff or standing over somewhere, whatever it is. I think that's probably why, and I think they're just undervalued because they have a 25, 26-year-old head coach, 26. JJ.
He's great. I saw him scouting.
He's going
the other day at Westside.
He will be at Elkhorn South for his whole career or as long as they'll let him be.
Really?
Yeah. He went to high school there. He's all in on it.
What do you expect from the middle of the pack? Because there's some good. Yeah.
Man, there's good game. There, we'll see. There's a lot of breakers this weekend. Last night wasn't really that much, but like Southeast Prep. Southeast now won 7 in a row after they beat Norfolk last night. That's a huge one tomorrow night. Pius, Bellevue West. Bellevue West Prep is tonight again. Can that change? I think the Pius playing Bellevue West, third game in this week for Bellevue West. Tougher test to kind of come back from. They started really slow against Sioux City East the other night on Tuesday when I was there, and then it just went bang, flip, like wasn't even close.
Yeah, they didn't even have to shoot it well.
No, and they didn't. It's another game where they didn't. So
I wasn't sure if Sioux City East showed up.
Well, they kind of did.
So as we got closer to that, a lot of people said that they were overrated before that game even tipped.
Yeah, a little bit of a paper tiger, I think. What took some shine off that game, Sioux City East lost to SBL or on Monday night, and then they had to go to Bellevue and play on Tuesday night, and SBL Sergeant Luton. I always mess that up.
That's okay.
He's the guy. That's his wheelhouse.
Yeah. So they lost to
the
them.
Warriors.
Their first loss was to SBL on Monday.
I told Sautter that SBL team always finds a way to make a deep run in postseason.
Yeah.
Always. They're never the best team, but they always go to like the semifinals or the final.
It'd be kind of like how we compare would be like kind of like losing to Bennington or something, right? Like you think that's the comp.
They got a big one tonight too.
Yes, they do. Class B is I'll just move on to that. Class B boys last night. Holy cow! Like
I don't know what happened in Platteview.
Ralston beat Platteview. Yeah. Elkhorn North beat Mount Michael in the Palace at Mount Michael.
Yeah, shout out to Team Spooner, but Elkhorn North, they're going to be a thorn for somebody that doesn't prepare well.
Here's something here. Elkhorn North's boys are in Scott's subdistrict. And the first game of the year they played, and it was a little tighter than people really thought.
Wild card points.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick before we let you go and get to the dump, nice little piece on the 2024s, which I don't know. I think we saw this coming 3 or 4 years ago with this group, but it's exceeded.
Yeah, in the 2024
football.
Yeah, in 2024 football class, there are 7 kids right now with power conference offers in Nebraska. That's a lot. So, and there's a handful. Ashton Murphy was the most recent one with Nebraska. Feels like that's probably the favorite at this point. It feels like there's a handful that could get more, like the Rezacks and Spadies and at Westside, and then Sam Thomas is a guy at Elkhorn North that's a lineman that's popped recently here. Joseph Stein, we talked about last week about how
Northwest.
Iowa State went in there. There's just like can we get to 10? And there's probably going to be someone that camps super well that we just don't know about right now. So can we get to 10? That's the question.
So last week, this is before this piece came out, but when you start putting the scholarship offers to paper of those top 4 or 5 guys, you're going to be well over 75 Power 5 offers between those guys.
Right. It's a lot. Like right now, you just like Kalen has 15. Caleb is 7, 8 right now.
Man, he's up to 10.
10, yeah. McMorris is trending. Caleb Pyfrom is trending. Like all these guys are trending. They just keep coming and coming. And it's not like regionally, right? We're talking Virginia,
Duke,
Vandy, and Carolina, and like Stanford, Vandy, like all these places have started coming in here a little bit. So it'll be real interesting to see what, Rule and his staff, obviously they're working really hard in state. It's tremendous.
Did you catch his line the other day about how when he said,
this is what we do,
you guys are making it seem like this is a big deal and we love it, but 8 schools in a day shouldn't be a big deal. And I was just like, You know what I wanted to say? We'll tell that to
last.
no.
That's what I'll say it. Tell that to the last staff. About,
but I remember Mickey saying that, and he was like, he's like, no, that school isn't on my list, but I'm going anyway. I'm here. Like, this is what we do.
Mickey did a really nice job, especially in Omaha, for sure.
Of bridging the gap.
Yeah.
That's going to be undersold, but he kept Nebraska.
Benson's and Bryan's.
He kept Nebraska in it.
Yeah.
He really did.
Yeah.
He's 8 in a day, no big deal.
It's a lot. People don't factor in drive time too.
Like, dude,
you got to drive to these schools, and then you got to stay at the school for how long? How long are you there?
10 minutes.
I remember
are they there for 10 minutes, or are they there for 13?
When Coach Rude first got here, and this is how the talent level has changed. He was going from Scotts Bluff to Burke.
Yeah, crazy.
That's 6.5 hours.
Yeah.
Sautter, we'll continue conversation with you over to Morning Dump. But for the show today, thank you for joining us this week on Coffee and Cream. We'll be back next week. Thank you to all of you that showed for our live event at Hale Varsity Club. Again, that's on the first and third Fridays of every month. If you want more,
party,
go to Morning Dump. We will see you next week on the show.